The autumn rain came down in sheets, turning Boston's streets into rivers of leaves and forgotten umbrellas. Emma Chen huddled under the awning of a closed bookstore, her grocery bags growing heavier by the minute. She'd been caught between the subway station and her apartment when the sky opened up, and now she was stuck watching the world blur behind curtains of water. That's when she saw him. A boy, maybe 9 years old, standing completely still in the middle of the sidewalk. Rain plastered his dark hair to his forehead, soaked his expensive-looking jacket, ran in rivulets down his face. But he wasn't crying. He wasn't running for shelter. He was just standing there, frozen. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So, if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel. Emma's social worker instincts kicked in immediately. She'd spent 5 years working with foster children before budget cuts eliminated her position, and she recognized that particular kind of stillness. It was the paralysis of a child completely overwhelmed. She looked around for parents, guardians, anyone who might be responsible for him. The street was nearly empty, except for a black Mercedes idling 30 feet away. Through the tinted windows, she could make out shapes men in suits, but no one was getting out. No one was helping the boy. "Screw it," Emma muttered, abandoning her dry haven. She jogged into the rain, her thin jacket immediately soaking through. When she reached the boy, she crouched down to his level. His eyes were unfocused, his breathing rapid and shallow. She'd seen this before, a panic attack, or something close to it. "Hey," she said gently. "Are you okay?" No response. The boy's eyes didn't even track to her face. Emma tried again, louder this time to be heard over the rain. "Sweetie, where are your parents? Can you tell me?" That's when she noticed his hands. They were moving in small, frantic gestures at his sides, repetitive patterns, signs. Emma's breath caught. She hadn't used ASL in months, not since the group home for deaf teens had closed. But the muscle memory was still there, buried under months of serving coffee at minimum wage. She lifted her hands and signed clearly. "Are you okay? Can you hear me?" The boy's eyes snapped to her hands like a drowning man spotting a lifeline. His own hands moved quickly, desperately. "Lost. Can't find father. Too loud. Everything too loud." "You're deaf?" Emma signed. "Yes." Hearing aids broke. Storm sounds. His signs became frantic, incoherent. Emma understood. Without his hearing aids, the world had become a chaos of overwhelming vibrations, thunder rumbling through his bones, rain hammering against his skin. The city's ambient noise translated into physical sensation he couldn't process or escape. "Look at me," she signed firmly. "Just my hands. Nothing else matters. Just watch my hands." The boy's eyes locked onto hers. "Breathe with me." Emma signed, then demonstrated, exaggerating her breaths so he could see them. In, out, in, out. Slowly, miraculously, the boy's breathing began to match hers. The panic in his eyes started to recede. "Good. You're doing so good. What's your name?" "Leo." "I'm Emma. Let's get you out of this rain, Leo. Where's your father?" Leo pointed vaguely down the street, his sign still shaky. "Black car. But men won't listen. Never listen." Emma looked at the Mercedes. The engine was still running, but no one had emerged, despite a child standing in a downpour. What kind of? The rear door opened. A man stepped out, and Emma's throat went dry. She'd seen Dante Marchetti's face in the news often enough to recognize him, Boston's most notorious alleged crime boss, though nothing had ever stuck in court. He controlled the waterfront, or so the rumors went, controlled half the city council, controlled things that shouldn't be controlled, and he was walking toward her and Leo, with an expression that made Emma's survival instincts scream to run. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with the kind of commanding presence that came from men who were used to being obeyed without question. His suit probably cost more than Emma's yearly rent. Rain rolled off him like it didn't dare linger on someone so dangerous. 2 men followed him, bodyguards, clearly hands hovering near their jackets. Emma stood, positioning herself slightly in front of Leo. She'd worked with enough traumatized kids to know that she'd rather face danger herself than let a child feel unprotected. "Who are you?" Dante's voice was a low rumble, accented with the remains of Italian that formal education hadn't quite erased. "Why are you touching my son?" Emma lifted her chin despite her hammering heart. "Your son was having a panic attack in the middle of the street. His hearing aids are broken, and the storm was overwhelming him. I was helping. Dante's eyes narrowed. How do you know about his hearing aids? Because I speak ASL, and he told me. Something flickered across Dante's face. Surprise, perhaps, or suspicion. He looked down at Leo, who immediately signed something rapid. Dante's jaw tightened as he watched his son's hands, clearly not understanding most of it. What did he say? Dante demanded. Emma hesitated. Translating felt like inserting herself deeper into something dangerous. But Leo was looking at her with desperate hope. He said his hearing aids broke this morning. He told you, but you didn't understand his signs. He tried to stay in the car, but everyone was arguing and he got scared. The thunder started, and he couldn't handle it, so he got out to find somewhere quiet. But then he got lost. Dante's face had gone carefully blank, but Emma caught the flash of guilt in his eyes before he masked it. Leo, Dante said, but the boy couldn't hear him. He reached out to touch his son's shoulder, and Leo flinched. That flinch seemed to hurt Dante more than any physical blow could have. Emma watched father and son stare at each other across a gulf of miscommunication, and despite her fear, despite knowing exactly who Dante Marchetti was, she felt a familiar ache. She'd seen this before in her work, parents who loved their children but couldn't reach them. He doesn't need you to speak, Emma said quietly. He needs you to sign. I don't know how. Then he needs someone who does. Dante's eyes cut to her, sharp and assessing. And you do. I worked with deaf children for 5 years. I'm fluent in ASL. Worked. Past tense. Budget cuts. Emma shrugged. Now I serve coffee and try to make rent. Dante pulled out his phone, typed something rapidly, then looked back at her. Emma Chen, 29. Graduated from BU with a master's in deaf education. Worked at Suffolk County Children's Services until the program was eliminated 8 months ago. Currently employed at Common Grounds Cafe. No criminal record, parking tickets from 2019. Emma's blood ran cold. How did you... I make it my business to know who touches my son. Dante stepped closer, and Emma caught the scent of expensive cologne and rain. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get in my car. You're going to help me understand what Leo needs. Then you're going to make a choice about your future. That sounds like a threat. It's an opportunity. Dante's smile didn't reach his eyes. But opportunities in my world come with conditions. Get in the car, Emma Chen. Emma looked at Leo, who signed desperately. Please don't leave. Please. She thought about her master's degree gathering dust, her student loans, her 1-bedroom apartment with the broken heating, the job applications sent to 37 schools, all unanswered. She thought about a 9-year-old boy standing in the rain, unable to communicate with his own father. Fine, Emma said, but I'm not getting involved in anything illegal. Dante's laugh was dark. Miss Chen, by getting in this car, you already are. The Mercedes interior smelled like leather and power. Emma sat across from Dante while Leo pressed against her side, his small hand clutching her jacket sleeve. The bodyguards sat up front, silent and watchful. Leo signed rapidly to Emma, his hands moving in quick, anxious bursts. She translated for Dante. He wants to know if you're angry at him. Tell him no. Dante's voice softened. Tell him I was worried. Emma signed, and Leo's shoulders relaxed slightly. But then he signed something else, his face crumpling. He says he tried to tell you this morning that his hearing aids were making a weird noise. He tried to show you, but you were on the phone. He says he's sorry for being difficult. Dante's jaw clenched. He looked at his son with something that might have been anguish in a less controlled man. Tell him he's not difficult. Tell him I'm sorry I didn't listen. As Emma translated, she watched Dante's face carefully. This wasn't the cold mob boss from the news. This was a father who just realized he'd failed his child in the most fundamental way. How long has he been deaf? Emma asked quietly. Since birth. Genetic. My wife. Dante's voice tightened. My wife knew ASL. She communicated with him perfectly. She was going to teach me, but... He trailed off, looking out the rain-streaked window. Emma understood what he wasn't saying. She died. 2 years ago. Car accident. Dante's voice was flat, emotionless in a way that spoke of tightly controlled grief. Since then, Leo and I have been struggling. Leo signed something else, and Emma translated. He says his mom used to tell him stories with her hands. He misses the stories. Dante closed his eyes briefly. The car pulled up to a building in Beacon Hill that screamed old money and older power. The bodyguards opened the doors, and Emma found herself hustled into a private elevator that required a key card. "Where are you taking me?" "My home. Leo needs to see a doctor about his hearing aids. You're going to help me communicate with him until they're fixed. I have a job. Call in sick. I can't just, Miss Chen." Dante's voice was soft but utterly inflexible. "My son just experienced a traumatic episode because I couldn't understand him. Because I've been too proud, too busy, too convinced I could handle everything myself to admit I need help. You're going to help me fix that. Name your price." Emma blinked. "Excuse me?" "I'm offering you a job, private tutor for Leo. You teach him, help him process what he's been through since his mother died, and teach me enough ASL to communicate with my own son." Dante's eyes were intense. "How much?" This is insane. I don't even know you. You know I love my son. You know I failed him today. And you know you're exactly what he needs." Dante leaned forward. "So I'll ask again. How much?" Emma's mind raced. A job using her actual degree? Money to pay off her loans? The chance to help a child who clearly needed her. But this was Dante Marchetti, a man whose business dealings were whispered about in tones usually reserved for ghost stories. Getting involved with him was dangerous, stupid, potentially career-ending or life-ending. Leo signed at her again. "Please stay. No one else talks to me right." Emma looked at this little boy who'd been essentially alone in his grief because the world couldn't be bothered to learn his language. She looked at his father, who clearly wanted to do better but didn't know how. $5,000 a week, Emma heard herself say. 3 sessions weekly, minimum 2 hours each. "I teach Leo, and I teach you. No involvement in any of your other business. The moment I see anything illegal, I walk." Dante smiled, sharp and satisfied. "Deal. But you're going to need security." "What? Why?" "Because the moment you're seen entering my home, you become associated with me. That makes you a target." Dante's expression darkened. "I have enemies, Miss Chen. Lots of them. They'll see a young woman spending time with my son and draw conclusions. Some will see leverage. Others will see vulnerability. I won't have Leo lose someone else." The weight of what she was agreeing to settled over Emma like a lead blanket, but Leo was looking at her with such hope that she couldn't find the words to refuse. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." Over the next 6 weeks, Emma's life transformed in ways she couldn't have imagined. She moved into a secured apartment building, Dante's building, though he'd insisted she pay rent to maintain the appearance of independence. She quit her cafe job and spent 3 days a week in Dante's penthouse, teaching Leo, and slowly, painstakingly, teaching his father. Leo was brilliant. Once she'd gained his trust, his personality emerged like sunlight after storms. He was funny, creative, surprisingly mischievous. He'd been trapped in silence and grief, but Emma gave him the tools to express himself again. They did art, therapy, using colors and shapes to work through his feelings about his mother's death. They read books together, Leo's hands flying as he narrated the stories in ASL. They went to the aquarium with bodyguards trailing discreetly behind, and Leo signed excitedly about the sharks. But the real transformation was in Dante. Every session, he sat in on lessons, his large hands awkward as he practiced signs. He made mistakes, constantly confusing similar hand shapes, forgetting the non-manual markers that gave ASL its grammar and nuance, but he never gave up. Emma watched him practice at odd moments, during phone calls, signing while he listened to someone speak. At dinner, attempting to sign simple phrases to Leo. In the evenings, running through vocabulary while he reviewed documents at his desk. "Your hand shape is wrong," Emma corrected during one session. She took Dante's hand and adjusted his fingers. "It's like this. See?" Dante's hand was warm and calloused in hers. Their eyes met, and Emma felt something electric pass between them before she quickly pulled away. "Try again," she said, her voice slightly unsteady. Dante repeated the sign perfectly this time. Then he signed to Leo, "I love you." Leo's face split into the widest smile Emma had ever seen. He signed back, "I love you too, Papa." It was the first time they'd exchanged those words in 2 years. Emma felt her eyes burn with tears and quickly looked away, but not before Dante caught her expression. Later, after Leo had gone to bed, Dante found Emma in the study where she was packing up her materials. Thank you, he said quietly. Just doing my job. No. Dante moved closer. You gave me my son back. That's not a job. That's a miracle. Emma looked up at him, this dangerous man with gentle hands when it came to his child, and felt her carefully maintained professional distance starting to crumble. He gave himself back, she said softly. He just needed someone to listen in the right language. Like I need to learn to listen better. Dante's hand came up, hesitant, and tucked a strand of hair behind Emma's ear. To him, to other things. Emma's breath caught. Mr. Marchetti. Dante, she corrected, her voice barely a whisper. This isn't appropriate. I work for you. Then maybe you should stop working for me. That's not, you can't just. I can offer you a different position. Consultant. Independent contractor. Whatever maintains propriety. Dante's thumb traced her cheekbone. Because I don't want appropriate, Emma. I want you. Before Emma could respond, before she could think about what a terrible idea this was, Dante kissed her. It was soft, questioning, nothing like she'd expected from a man with his reputation. And God help her, Emma kissed him back. When they broke apart, reality crashed back in. This is a bad idea, Emma breathed. Probably. You're a criminal. Allegedly. I should leave. You should. Neither of them moved. Leo's voice, his actual voice, raw and unused, cracked through the air. Papa? They sprang apart. Leo stood in the doorway in his pajamas, staring at them with wide eyes. His hands moved rapidly. Emma is staying? Not leaving like the others? Emma's heart broke at the fear in his signs. How many people had Leo watched come and go from his life? She knelt to his level and signed. I'm not leaving, I promise. Your papa and I were just talking. About me? Always about you. You're the most important person in the world to us. Leo looked between them, then signed something that made Emma's cheeks burn. Mama would have liked you. She always said Papa needed someone who wasn't afraid of him. Dante made a choked sound. He signed to his son. Bedtime. Now. We'll talk in the morning. You're getting better at signing. Leo responded with a cheeky grin, almost like a real person. Despite everything, Emma laughed. Leo had his father's dry humor. After Leo went back to bed, Emma and Dante stood in awkward silence. So, Emma finally said. So, Dante echoed. We should talk about what just happened. We should. More silence. Tomorrow, Emma decided. We'll talk about this tomorrow when I can think straight. Fair enough. Dante's smile was slight but genuine. But Emma, Leo's right. His mother would have liked you. As Emma left that night, security escort trailing her home, she realized she'd crossed a line she'd sworn not to cross. She was falling for Dante Marchetti, and in his world, that could be the most dangerous thing of all. The text came at 2:47 a.m. We have a problem. Need you here now. Emma stared at her phone, heart racing. Dante never contacted her outside of scheduled session times. Never broke their professional boundaries. What's wrong? Can't explain via text. Driver's downstairs. Emma dressed in yesterday's jeans and a sweater, then rode the elevator down to find one of Dante's men waiting with an umbrella. It had started raining again. The penthouse was chaos when she arrived. Men in suits occupied every corner, speaking in rapid Italian. Dante stood by the windows, phone pressed to his ear, his expression harder than Emma had ever seen. He ended the call when he saw her. Thank you for coming. What happened? Dante gestured toward Leo's bedroom. See for yourself. Emma's blood turned to ice as she entered. Leo sat on his bed, clutching his blanket, eyes red from crying. But what made Emma's stomach drop was the photograph on his nightstand slashed to ribbons. It had been a picture of Leo and his mother. Who did this? Emma signed urgently. Leo's hands shook as he responded. I woke up. Window was open. Picture was cut. Someone was here. In my room. Emma pulled him into a fierce hug, her mind reeling. Someone had breached Dante's security, had gotten into his son's bedroom. This wasn't a theoretical threat anymore. She carried Leo out to the living room, where Dante immediately took his son into his arms, signing. You're safe. I promise. You're safe. One of Dante's men approached. Boss, we've checked the cameras. Someone disabled them remotely. Professional work. And they left this. He held out a note. Emma caught a glimpse of the words before Dante snatched it away. The boy. Wednesday. Or everyone he loves dies. Dante's face went white with rage. He barked orders in Italian, and the room exploded into motion. Emma, you need to leave. Now. What? No. Leo needs Emma. Dante grabbed her shoulders. That note includes you. Everyone he loves. They know about you. You're not safe here. I'm not leaving him when he's terrified. You don't understand. This is the Volkov family. Russian Bratva. They've been trying to move into my territory for months. They just declared war, and they're using my son as the opening move. Emma's legs felt weak. What are you going to do? Dante's expression was terrifying. What I should have done months ago. End this. You can't just... Emma lowered her voice. You can't kill people. I can and I will. To protect Leo. To protect you. Dante's eyes were cold. This is my world, Emma. I warned you it was dangerous. So what, I just leave? Abandon Leo when he needs stability? You stay alive. That's what you do. Leo signed frantically. Don't make Emma leave, please, Papa. She promised she wouldn't leave like everyone else. The raw plea in his signs made both adults freeze. Dante closed his eyes, clearly warring with himself. Finally, he signed. Emma isn't leaving, I promise. Then to Emma. But you're getting additional security, round the clock, and you don't go anywhere without my men. Understood? Emma nodded numbly. This was real, actually happening. She'd known intellectually that Dante was dangerous, that his world was violent. But knowing it and experiencing it were two different things. The next 3 days were a nightmare. Emma moved through her life surrounded by armed men. She couldn't go to the grocery store without an escort, couldn't answer her door without checking with security first. And she watched Dante transform into someone she didn't recognize. The gentle father who practiced sign language disappeared. In his place was the mob boss from the news, cold, calculating, ruthless. He made phone calls in Italian and Russian, his voice hard as steel. People came and went from his office, all of them armed. Leo felt the change too. He became withdrawn again, and all of Emma's careful work started unraveling. On Wednesday, the deadline from the note, Emma arrived for their session to find Dante strapping on a shoulder holster. You're not going, she said. I don't have a choice. There's always a choice. What happens to Leo if you die? Dante's face was granite. I'm not going to die. You don't know that. Emma, this isn't up for debate. Then at least tell me what you're planning. Dante checked his weapon, then looked at her with something like regret. The Volkovs want a meeting. They're offering a deal, shared territory in exchange for leaving Leo alone. I'm going to hear them out. You don't believe they'll honor it? No. Which is why I have 30 men positioned around the meeting site. The moment they try anything, we end this. You're talking about a massacre. I'm talking about eliminating a threat to my family. Dante grabbed his jacket. Stay with Leo. Keep him distracted. And Emma? He cupped her face with surprising gentleness. If something goes wrong, Vincent knows what to do. He'll get you and Leo somewhere safe. Dante. He kissed her, fierce and desperate, then pulled away. I'll be back in 3 hours. Don't answer the door for anyone but my men. Emma watched him leave, her heart in her throat. The next 2 hours were torture. She played games with Leo, taught him new signs, read him stories, but her eyes kept flicking to the clock, to her phone that remained stubbornly silent. When gunfire erupted outside the building, Emma's blood turned to ice. The security alarm shrieked to life as Emma pushed Leo behind her. Through the windows, she could see chaos on the street below, black cars screeching to stops, men with guns, muzzle flashes in the rain. Vincent burst into the penthouse. We have to move, now, back exit. What's happening? Where's Dante? No time. Move. Vincent grabbed Leo, while 2 other guards flanked Emma, hustling them toward the service elevator. They made it halfway across the living room before the front door exploded inward. 3 men rushed in, weapons raised. Vincent shoved Leo toward Emma and returned fire, using an overturned sofa as cover. The sound was deafening, gunshots, shouting, breaking glass. Emma's ears rang as she pulled Leo into the hallway, pressing him against the wall. She signed frantically, "Stay quiet, stay down, don't move." Leo was crying silently, his whole body shaking. Emma wrapped herself around him, making herself a shield. More gunfire. a scream. Then Vincent appeared, blood streaming from his shoulder. Service elevators compromised. We go through the garage. He grabbed Emma's arm, half dragging her. Can you run? Yes. Then run. They burst through a door into a stairwell. Vincent led them down, 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 while Emma carried Leo, his face buried in her neck. Behind them, she could hear pursuit-heavy footsteps, shouted Russian. The garage was darker, filled with shadows and concrete pillars. Vincent gestured them toward an armored SUV, but before they reached it, a man stepped out from behind a support column. He said something in Russian, gun aimed at Vincent. Emma, Vincent said quietly, take Leo and get in the car. Keys are in the ignition. What? No, I'll hold them off. You drive. There's a safe house in Brookline. Address programmed in the GPS. Go there. Don't stop for anyone. Vincent, go. Emma ran. Leo clutched to her chest. She heard gunfire behind her but didn't look back. She shoved Leo into the SUV's back seat, dove, into the driver's seat, and started the engine. The SUV roared to life. Emma floored it, tires squealing as she headed for the exit ramp. In the rearview mirror, she saw Vincent go down, returning fire until the last moment. Tears blurred her vision, but Emma drove like her life depended on it. Because it did. Leo signed from the back. Where's Papa? Where's Vincent? I don't know. But we're going somewhere safe. Hold on. The SUV burst onto the street into chaos. 2 black sedans immediately fell in behind her. Emma's heart hammered as she navigated traffic, her non-existent evasive driving skills tested by reality. A bullet spiderwebbed the rear window. Leo screamed in actual, vocal sound born of pure terror. Down! Emma shouted, even though he couldn't hear her. She signed one-handed. Get on the floor. She took a corner too fast, the SUV's weight working against her. Another bullet sparked off the armored plating. How long could this vehicle take damage before something vital? Got hit? Emma's phone rang. Dante. She answered on speaker. Emma, where are you? Being chased. Vincent put us in an SUV. He said go to Brookline, but these cars won't stop. Listen to me. Dante's voice was pure command despite the sound of gunfire in his background. Take the next right, then immediate left into the construction site. My men are there. Emma followed his instructions, the SUV bouncing over rough terrain as she drove onto a half-built development. Suddenly, 3 vehicles appeared from behind equipment, blocking her pursuers. The sounds of gunfire faded as Emma kept driving, following Dante's GPS directions. Her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the wheel. Are you hurt? Dante asked. Is Leo hurt? No. Shaken, but okay. Vincent. I know. We have him. He's alive. In surgery. A pause. Emma, I'm so sorry. This should never have happened. Where are you? Cleaning up. The Volkovs tried to take me out at the meeting. They sent a second team to the penthouse for Leo. They wanted to eliminate my entire family at once. Emma heard the dark satisfaction in his voice. Did they succeed? No. They failed. And now they'll pay for it. Dante, what does that mean? It means this ends tonight. Go to the safe house. I'll be there in 2 hours. And Emma? His voice softened fractionally. Thank you for protecting my son. The safe house was a nondescript townhouse in a quiet Brookline neighborhood. Emma pulled into the garage, her whole body trembling with adrenaline crash. Leo was curled in the back seat, eyes wide and shocked. Emma gathered him into her arms, carrying him inside where she locked every door, closed every curtain, and finally let herself break down. She sobbed while holding Leo, who cried silently with her. They'd survived, barely. An hour later, Emma had Leo in bed upstairs, finally sleeping from exhaustion. She sat in the kitchen, a cup of cold tea in her shaking hands, when headlights illuminated the windows. Emma grabbed a knife from the block, heart racing, until she heard Dante's voice. Emma, it's me. She opened the door to find him bloodied, exhausted, but alive. Without thinking, Emma threw herself into his arms. Dante caught her, holding her tight. You're okay. Thank God. You're okay. Vincent, we'll recover. The doctors expect a full healing. Dante pulled back to look at her face. What you did today, getting Leo out, driving through that, you saved his life. Is it over? The Volkovs? Dante's expression went cold. After tonight, They won't be a problem anymore. Emma understood what he wasn't saying, what he'd done, the violence he'd enacted on her behalf. On Leo's behalf. She should be horrified, should be calling the police, should be running far from this man and his world of blood and bullets. Instead, she kissed him. Dante responded with desperate intensity, his hands tangling in her hair, backing her against the wall. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Emma whispered, "I can't do this again. I can't watch Leo almost die. Can't wonder if you're coming home." "I know. But I can't leave him either. Can't leave you." "I know," Dante repeated, his forehead resting against hers. "So what do we do?" Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then, "We leave Boston. All of us. I have holdings in Vancouver, legitimate businesses, no connections to this life. We start over. New names, new life. Just normal." Emma pulled back to stare at him. "You'd leave all this? Your empire?" "I'd leave everything for my son, for a chance at a life where he's safe." Dante cupped her face. "For you. That's insane. Probably." He smiled slightly. "But you make me want insane things, Emma Chen. You make me want to be someone better. Someone Leo can be proud of." Emma thought about her degree, her student loans, her cramped apartment. She thought about what she'd left behind. Then she thought about Leo, brilliant, funny Leo, who finally had his voice back. About Dante, who'd learned to listen in a new language. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay, let's go to Vancouver." Dante's smile was like sunrise. "Yeah? But I have conditions. Real security, not just for us but for our privacy. I don't want to know about your business deals. And Leo comes first, always." "Deal," Dante kissed her gently. "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow, before I come to my senses." Vancouver's rain was gentler than Boston's. It misted rather than poured, softening the city's edges and making everything smell like cedar and sea. Emma stood in her studio, a bright, open space in Kitsilano, where she ran her private practice for deaf children, watching the rain through floor-to-ceiling windows. She'd built something here, something real and legal and hers. Behind her, the door opened. She turned to find Dante carrying 2 coffees, his hair damp from the rain. He'd aged in reverse these 2 years, losing the hard edges and tension that had defined him in Boston. "Leo finished his test early," Dante said, handing her a latte. "His teacher says he's top of the class in math. Of course he is. He's brilliant. He gets that from his mother." Dante wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her close. "I'm not his mother. Aren't you?" Dante's hand moved to rest on her swollen belly. "You're about to be this one's mother. And Leo calls you Mom in every way that matters." Emma leaned into him, feeling their daughter kick between them. They'd gotten married 6 months ago, in a quiet ceremony with only Leo, Dante's mother, and Emma's parents in attendance. Emma's parents still didn't fully understand why she'd moved to Canada or why she'd married a mysterious businessman, but they'd fallen in love with Leo on sight. "Do you miss it?" Emma asked. "The power? The control?" Dante was quiet, considering. "Sometimes I miss the certainty of it. Knowing I could handle any problem, any threat." He turned her to face him. "But then I come home to you and Leo. I watch him, laugh with his friends at school. I feel our daughter kick, and I realize I was never powerful back there. I was trapped. This is freedom." The studio door burst open and Leo rushed in, now 11 years old and lanky, his new hearing aids top of the line gleaming. He signed rapidly, "Papa, Emma, you have to see this." He held up his phone, showing a news article. Emma's blood ran cold as she read the headline. "Boston crime boss Dante Marchetti presumed dead in Vancouver federal investigations closed." Dante took the phone, his expression unreadable. 2 years ago, he'd faked his death with the help of contacts who owed him favors. The man in the morgue photos had been a body double, the DNA evidence carefully corrupted. As far as the world knew, Dante Marchetti had died in a boating accident off Vancouver Island. David Morrison, the man Emma had married, was a legitimate real estate developer with impeccable paperwork and no connection to Boston's underworld. "Does this mean we're safe now?" Leo signed, his face hopeful and anxious. "The bad men won't find us?" Dante knelt to his son's level and signed carefully his ASL, now fluent after 2 years of constant practice. "We're safe. This life is real. This family is real. And no one can take it away. Leo hugged his father tight, then turned to Emma and signed, "Mom, can we have pizza for dinner?" To celebrate? Emma's eyes filled with tears at the word mom. It still got her every time. Of course. Your choice of toppings. Even pineapple? Even pineapple? Emma signed with an exaggerated grimace that made Leo laugh. After Leo ran off to call his friends, Dante pulled Emma close again. "Thank you," he murmured. "For what?" "For seeing me in that rain. For signing to my son. For giving us both a reason to become better." He kissed her forehead. "You saved us that day, Emma. In every way that matters." Emma looked out at Vancouver's gentle rain, thinking about the storm that had brought them together. About a little boy standing frozen in the downpour. About the choice she'd made to help instead of walk away. "No," she said softly, placing Dante's hand on her belly where their daughter kicked strong and fierce. "We saved each other." Outside, the rain continued to fall, washing away the past and nourishing something new. Inside, a family that had been forged in violence and fear had found peace in the simplest of things. A shared language, hard-won trust, and the kind of love that transforms everything it touches. Leo called from the kitchen. "They want to know if we want breadsticks too." Dante and Emma looked at each other and smiled. This was their life now: pizza orders and parenting debates, homework help and bedtime stories signed with gentle hands. It was ordinary, it was safe, it was everything. And it had all started with a woman brave enough to sign to a stranger's son in the rain. Over the next 6 weeks, Emma's life transformed in ways she couldn't have imagined. She moved into a secured apartment building, Dante's building, though he'd insisted she pay rent to maintain the appearance of independence. She quit her cafe job and spent 3 days a week in Dante's penthouse, teaching Leo and slowly, painstakingly, teaching his father. Leo was brilliant. Once she'd gained his trust, his personality emerged like sunlight after storms. He was funny, creative, surprisingly mischievous. He'd been trapped in silence and grief, but Emma gave him the tools to express himself again. They did art therapy, using colors and shapes to work through his feelings about his mother's death. They read books together, Leo's hands flying as he narrated the stories in ASL. They went to the aquarium with bodyguards trailing discreetly behind, and Leo signed excitedly about the sharks. But the real transformation was in Dante. Every session, he sat in on lessons, his large hands awkward as he practiced signs. He made mistakes constantly, confusing similar hand shapes, forgetting the non-manual markers that gave ASL its grammar and nuance. But he never gave up. Emma watched him practice at odd moments, during phone calls, signing while he listened to someone speak, at dinner, attempting to sign simple phrases to Leo. In the evenings, running through vocabulary while he reviewed documents at his desk. "Your hand shape is wrong," Emma corrected during one session. She took Dante's hand and adjusted his fingers. "It's like this. See?" Dante's hand was warm and calloused in hers. Their eyes met, and Emma felt something electric pass between them before she quickly pulled away. "Try again," she said, her voice slightly unsteady. Dante repeated the sign perfectly this time. Then he signed to Leo. "I love you." Leo's face split into the widest smile Emma had ever seen. He signed back, "I love you too, Papa." It was the first time they'd exchanged those words in 2 years. Emma felt her eyes burn with tears and quickly looked away, but not before Dante caught her expression. The weeks blurred together in a pattern of progress and small victories. Emma arrived each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning to find Dante and Leo having breakfast together. Dante fumbling through signed conversations about school, friends, dreams. The conversations were stilted, grammatically imperfect, but they were happening. That's what mattered. Leo's nightmares decreased. He started sleeping through the night. The shadows under his eyes faded, replaced by the healthy glow of a child who finally felt heard. Emma introduced them to deaf community events, a signing story hour at the library, a youth sports league for deaf and hard-of-hearing kids. Dante attended every single one, his bodyguards maintaining a discreet perimeter while he sat cross-legged on library floors or cheered from bleachers. "You're good at this," Emma told him after one particularly successful soccer game, where Leo had scored twice. They sat in Dante's car while Leo changed in the locker room, surrounded by the normalcy of suburban sports. At what? Being a father? Dante's laugh was self-deprecating. I've been failing at it for 2 years. You're learning. That's what matters. Most hearing parents of deaf children never bother to learn sign language. They expect the child to adapt to them. Emma turned to face him. You're doing the opposite. You're adapting to Leo. That takes courage. Or desperation. Dante's fingers traced patterns on the steering wheel, practicing signs even now. After his mother died, I threw myself into work. Told myself I was providing for him, keeping him safe. But really, I was just avoiding the fact that I didn't know how to reach him without her as translator. And now I realize that safety isn't just about bodyguards and secure buildings. It's about knowing your child can tell you when something's wrong, when they're scared or hurt or lonely. Dante's voice roughened. He was all those things, and I didn't even know because I couldn't understand his language. Emma wanted to touch him, to offer comfort, but Leo emerged from the building then, grinning and signing about his goals. The moment passed, but it lingered between them, this growing understanding, this deepening connection that went beyond their roles as teacher and parent. The shift happened gradually, then all at once. It started with coffee. Dante began having fresh pastries and Emma's preferred latte waiting when she arrived. Small talk before sessions turned into actual conversations about books, music, their childhoods. Emma learned that Dante had grown up in the North End, son of a baker who'd wanted him to take over the family business. Life had taken him in a different direction. Do you regret it? Emma asked one morning, while Leo worked independently on a writing assignment. The choices I made? Dante considered. Some of them. The violence, yes. The blood on my hands, I'll carry that forever. But the power? The ability to protect what's mine? No. I don't regret learning how to be strong in a world that punishes weakness. Is that what you want Leo to learn? That strength comes from fear? I want Leo to learn that strength comes from knowing who you are and refusing to apologize for it. Dante's eyes met hers. Like you, Emma blinked. Me? You walked into the rain for a stranger's child. You got in a car with a man you knew was dangerous because that child needed you. You negotiated with me like I was anyone else, not someone to be feared. Dante leaned forward. You're the bravest person I've ever met, Emma Chen. And you have no idea. Heat flooded Emma's cheeks. She looked away, flustered. I should check on Leo's work. But Dante's words stayed with her, warming something deep inside that had been cold since the budget cuts. Since her career had crumbled. Since she'd started believing she didn't matter. The evening it all changed started ordinarily enough. Emma had stayed, late because Leo wanted to finish a story. He was writing a fantastical tale about a deaf superhero who could communicate with anyone through signs that appeared in light. It was brilliant and imaginative, and Emma didn't have the heart to cut the session short. By the time Leo finished, it was past 8. Dante insisted she stay for dinner, a casual pasta dish he prepared himself while signing one-handed, which made Leo giggle at his father's clumsy multitasking. They ate together at the kitchen island, and for the first time, Emma saw what they could be, a family. Not employer and employee, not criminal and innocent bystander, but 3 people who fit together naturally. After dinner, Leo asked if he could watch a movie in his room. Emma helped him set up the subtitles, then returned to find Dante cleaning up, his suit jacket discarded, sleeves rolled up. You don't have to do that, Dante said, as Emma started loading the dishwasher. The housekeeper will handle it tomorrow. I don't mind. They worked in comfortable silence, moving around each other with an ease that shouldn't exist between them. When Emma reached for a high shelf to put away glasses, Dante stepped behind her, his hand covering hers to help. Neither of them moved away. Emma, Dante said quietly, I need to tell you something. She turned, finding herself trapped between him and the counter. What? I'm leaving the business. Not immediately, these things take time. But I've been planning my exit for months, selling off territories, liquidating assets, setting up legitimate fronts that will become legitimate businesses. His eyes searched hers. I can't keep living this life, not with Leo, not after seeing what I almost lost. Emma's heart raced. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that I'm trying to be better. For Leo. He stopped himself, jaw tightening. For what? For you. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Dante, I can't be the reason you change your life. That's too much pressure. Too much, you're not the reason, you're the catalyst. There's a difference. Dante's hand came up, hesitant, and tucked a strand of hair behind Emma's ear. Before you, I was going through the motions, surviving. But you reminded me what it means to actually live, to connect, to be vulnerable. I'm scared, Emma whispered. Of you, of this world, of what it means if I let myself feel what I'm feeling. What are you feeling? Emma looked up at this dangerous man with gentle hands when it came to his child, and felt her carefully maintained professional distance starting to crumble completely. Like I'm standing in the rain again, she said softly. Except this time, I'm the one who's frozen. Overwhelmed. Then let me help you. Dante's thumb traced her cheekbone. Like you helped Leo. Like you helped me. Let me be what you need. This isn't appropriate. I work for you. Then maybe you should stop working for me. I can hire another tutor for supplemental lessons. You could transition to being something else. What else? Whatever you want. Friend. Partner. Dante's voice dropped. More. Before Emma could respond, before she could think about what a terrible idea this was, Dante kissed her. It was soft, questioning, nothing like she'd expected from a man with his reputation. His lips moved against hers with reverence, like she was something precious. And God help her. Emma kissed him back, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened, and Emma felt years of loneliness and doubt melt away. When had anyone last touched her like this? Like she mattered? Like she was worth wanting? When they broke apart, both breathing hard, reality crashed back in. This is a bad idea, Emma breathed. Probably. You're a criminal, allegedly. And reforming. I should leave. You should. Neither of them moved. Then Leo's voice, his actual voice, raw and unused, cracked through the air. Papa? They sprang apart like teenagers caught by parents. Leo stood in the doorway in his pajamas, staring at them with wide eyes. His hands moved rapidly. Emma is staying? Not leaving like the others? Emma's heart broke at the fear in his signs. How many people had Leo watched come and go from his life? Nannies, tutors, his mother's friends who couldn't bear to look at Dante after her death. She knelt to his level and signed. I'm not leaving. I promise. Your papa and I were just talking. About me. Always about you. You're the most important person in the world to us. Leo looked between them with a wisdom beyond his 9 years, then signed something that made Emma's cheeks burn. Mama would have liked you. She always said Papa needed someone who wasn't afraid of him. Dante made a choked sound. He signed to his son. Bedtime. Now. We'll talk in the morning. You're getting better at signing. Leo responded with a cheeky grin. Almost like a real person. Despite everything, Emma laughed. Leo had his father's dry humor. Go. Dante signed more firmly. Sleep. Fine. But Emma, you're staying for breakfast, right? Emma looked at Dante, who looked back at her with hope and vulnerability written across his features. Yes. She signed. I'm staying for breakfast. Leo's smile could have lit the city. He hugged Emma, then his father, then scampered back to his room. After Leo's door closed, Emma and Dante stood in awkward silence. So, Emma finally said. So, Dante echoed. We should talk about what just happened. We should. More silence. Emma took a deep breath. I need time to think about this, about what it means, what I'm risking. But I need you to know that She paused, gathering courage. I care about you, both of you. More than I should, more than is probably wise. And that terrifies me. Dante stepped closer, taking her hands in his. I'm terrified too. I haven't felt this way since Leo's mother. Haven't wanted to. But you make me want to try. Again. To be someone worthy of the way you look at me when you think I don't notice. How do I look at you? Like I'm more than my worst choices. Like I could be someone better. Dante's smile was slight but genuine. Like I'm worth saving. Emma squeezed his hands. You're saving yourself. I'm just here. That's enough. You being here, it's everything. Emma left that night with promises to return in the morning, her security escort trailing her home through Boston's dark streets. She lay awake for hours, thinking about Leo's smile, Dante's kiss, and the choice she was facing. She could walk away, find another job, return to her safe, small life. protect herself from the danger inherent in Dante's world. Or she could stay, help Leo continue healing, give Dante a chance to prove he could change. Risk her heart on the possibility that love could exist even in the darkest places. By morning, Emma knew her answer. When she arrived at the penthouse, Dante was already making pancakes badly while Leo laughed at his attempts. They both looked up when she entered, matching expressions of hope on their faces. "I'm staying," Emma said simply. "Not just for breakfast, for all of it. But we do this right, slowly, with Leo's well-being as the priority." Dante crossed the kitchen and pulled her into his arms. "Deal. Leo's right, his mother would have liked you. She believed in second chances too." Leo signed from his perch at the counter. "Does this mean Emma is my mom now?" "Not yet." Emma signed back, her eyes misty. "But maybe someday. If you want." "I want," Leo signed emphatically. "I want that very much." As Emma joined them for breakfast, watching Dante fumble with sign language while making pancakes and Leo's delighted laughter filling the space, she realized something profound. She'd spent years helping children find their voices, but in the process, she'd lost her own. Until now. Until a little boy in the rain had given her a reason to sign, to speak, to choose courage over safety. Whatever came next, danger, complications, challenges, they would face it together. 3 people who'd been lost finding their way home through a shared language of love, patience, and the bravery to begin again. Over the next 6 weeks, Emma's life transformed in ways she couldn't have imagined. She moved into a secured apartment building, Dante's building, though he'd insisted she pay rent to maintain the appearance of independence. She quit her cafe job and spent 3 days a week in Dante's penthouse, teaching Leo and slowly, painstakingly, teaching his father. Leo was brilliant. Once she'd gained his trust, his personality emerged like sunlight after storms. He was funny, creative, surprisingly mischievous. He'd been trapped in silence and grief, but Emma gave him the tools to express himself again. They did art therapy, using colors and shapes to work through his feelings about his mother's death. They read books together, Leo's hands flying as he narrated the stories in ASL. They went to the aquarium with bodyguards trailing discreetly behind, and Leo signed excitedly about the sharks. But the real transformation was in Dante. Every session, he sat in on lessons, his large hands awkward as he practiced signs. He made mistakes constantly, confusing similar hand shapes, forgetting the non-manual markers that gave ASL its grammar and nuance, but he never gave up. Emma watched him practice at odd moments, during phone calls, signing while he listened to someone speak. At dinner, attempting to sign simple phrases to Leo. In the evenings, running through vocabulary while he reviewed documents at his desk. "Your hand shape is wrong," Emma corrected during one session. She took Dante's hand and adjusted his fingers. "It's like this, see?" Dante's hand was warm and calloused in hers. Their eyes met, and Emma felt something electric pass between them before she quickly pulled away. "Try again," she said, her voice slightly unsteady. Dante repeated the sign perfectly this time. Then he signed to Leo. "I love you." Leo's face split into the widest smile Emma had ever seen. He signed back. "I love you too, Papa." It was the first time they'd exchanged those words in 2 years. Emma felt her eyes burn with tears and quickly looked away, but not before Dante caught her expression. Later, after Leo had gone to bed, Dante found Emma in the study where she was packing up her materials. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Just doing my job." "No." Dante moved closer. "You gave me my son back. That's not a job. That's a miracle." Emma looked up at him, this dangerous man with gentle hands when it came to his child, and felt her carefully maintained professional distance starting to crumble. "He gave himself back," she said softly. "He just needed someone to listen in the right language. Like I need to learn to listen better." Dante's hand came up, hesitant, and tucked a strand of hair behind Emma's ear. "To him, to other things." Emma's breath caught. "Mr. Marchetti. Dante. Dante," she corrected, her voice barely a whisper. "This isn't appropriate. I work for you. Then maybe you should stop working for me. That's not, you can't just, I can offer you a different position. Consultant. Independent contractor. Whatever maintains propriety." Dante's thumb traced her cheekbone. "Because I don't want appropriate, Emma. I want you." Before Emma could respond, Before she could think about what a terrible idea this was, Dante kissed her. It was soft, questioning, nothing like she'd expected from a man with his reputation. And God help her. Emma kissed him back. When they broke apart, reality crashed back in. "This is a bad idea," Emma breathed. "Probably. You're a criminal. Allegedly. I should leave." "You should." Neither of them moved. Leo's voice, his actual voice, raw and unused, cracked through the air. "Papa?" They sprang apart. Leo stood in the doorway in his pajamas, staring at them with wide eyes. His hands moved rapidly. "Emma is staying? Not leaving like the others?" Emma's heart broke at the fear in his signs. How many people had Leo watched come and go from his life? She knelt to his level and signed. "I'm not leaving, I promise. Your papa and I were just talking." "About me?" "Always about you. You're the most important person in the world to us." Leo looked between them, then signed something that made Emma's cheeks burn. "Mama would have liked you. She always said Papa needed someone who wasn't afraid of him." Dante made a choked sound. He signed to his son. "Bedtime. Now. We'll talk in the morning." "You're getting better at signing," Leo responded with a cheeky grin. Almost like a real person. Despite everything, Emma laughed. Leo had his father's dry humor. After Leo went back to bed, Emma and Dante stood in awkward silence. "So," Emma finally said. "So," Dante echoed. "We should talk about what just happened. We should." "More." Silence. "Tomorrow," Emma decided. "We'll talk about this tomorrow when I can think straight." "Fair enough." Dante's smile was slight but genuine. "But Emma?" "Leo's right. His mother would have liked you." As Emma left that night, security escort trailing her home, she realized she'd crossed a line she'd sworn not to cross. She was falling for Dante Marchetti, and in his world, that could be the most dangerous thing of all. Preparing and narrating this type of story took us long efforts and hard work. So if you are enjoying the story, please consider subscribing to our channel.